What is something you or someone you know has done just to watch the world burn? I'm a high school science teacher. At least once a year we'll start a rumor about one of us getting arrested for something. A coworker of mine told some students that I dressed up as Selena Gomez for Halloween once. It's been over a year and I still get kids that like to yell "Hi Selena." I also fart while walking by students who I don't like for whatever reason. For a while, I had a townhouse where I had a bathroom window that overlooked the parking lot. Sometimes I would sit in there with my key fob and hit the lock button so that the horn on my car would honk right when people walked by, just to watch them jump. I had a remote starter on a car I used to own. One winter, the car was completely covered in snow and two kids were outside drawing faces and crap in the snow. I started the car from inside my house and watched them run away in terror. In the early 90s, universal remote controls were new. I had a grudge against a local AV store, so I got one of the programmable remotes. In the middle of the night I turned on everything in the store, through the window, and upped all the volumes to maximum, once a week for months. I had a buddy who did this in high school. Whenever the teacher would attempt to show a movie in class, he would use the universal remote to turn the TV off, just as the teacher sat down. She was convinced the TV was haunted. Friend's girlfriend was complaining on Facebook about vomiting and feeling nauseous. I make a joke teasing her about morning sickness and congratulating her on the baby. The next hour had her wall blowing up with family and friends who took it seriously congratulating her. Needless to say, I got a good laugh. Take a piece of paper and spread a thin layer of corn flour on the paper. Slide the piece of paper under a door and then use a can of compressed air to blow the corn flour off the paper and onto everything on the other side of the door. The person who enters the room will find a thin layer of the powder coating quite a bit of the room. When they go to clean it up, they will inevitably use a damp cloth, and that is when the magic occurs. If you've ever played with corn flour and water, you know it becomes a non-Newtonian fluid and those properties make it a nightmare to clean up. When you apply pressure, it's a stubborn goopy solid mass on the wall, but then you release the pressure and it starts to freely run down the wall like a liquid. This is like the high-class cousin of the frozen pea frisbee puck. Every Christmas, I take an ugly ornament off of our tree and put it on someone else's, usually during a party or something. I have yet to be caught. This is brilliant. Unfortunately, all the ugly ornaments I owned were gifts from other people, and they were personalized, so I'd be caught if I were to attempt the same thing. One time I did something to watch the world burn and it completely backfired in my face. It was the worst prank in the history of my life. I was a dumb child. I got super glue and I went around my house gluing down things that I thought people would rarely use. Top shelf picture frame, old scarf in mom's bottom drawer, dictionary on bookshelf, etc. About 20 things in total. I thought that people would come across these things over the course of months, that they would become confused and not understand how it kept happening. It was going to be my secret glory. My mom came across every single item in the course of a day. She cleans the house a lot more often than I anticipated. It was bad. Real bad. I was going to guess earthquake and all the glued crap was suspiciously still in place. Most of the guys on the team I work with are quite overweight and have different opinions on weight loss. They also love being right. It's pretty simple to say those. Insert food here. Make you. Insert random weight loss gain symptom. Here and then wait for the argument to explode. Put my headphones back on whilst they argue. I work in a pizza shop. Every time someone orders 10 wings I always put in 11 just hoping that whoever ordered those wings planned on splitting them evenly, and I have just started a war within the household over who gets that last wing. If I ordered chicken wings and got an extra one free, I would just think the guy who made them was being nice for no reason other than he is a nice guy. I go onto random YouTube videos and write the word fake when it clearly isn't and just watch the shitstorm that develops. I stole an entire place setting from the old spaghetti factory one piece at a time. A salad plate, dinner plate, bowl, glass, spoon, fork, knife, even a bread knife. It took months. Then one day I went there for dinner with everything in a messenger bag, and right before I left I set it up on the table. I know a guy who likes to put his knees against the underside of a table. He lifts it really slowly, like a few inches over 10 minutes, so no one notices, then suddenly drops it just to watch everyone jump. Whenever I visit a friend or relative's place, I turn the magnets on their fridge upside down. Never been caught. I have however heard complaints of someone keeps turning my goddamn magnets upside down, once or twice. Hehehe. They're going to notice it only happens when you're over. You have to break into their home and do it to throw them off your trail. Edit. My highest rated comment is now about B&E. For shame Reddit. For shame. Lived in a neighborhood called Caroline Pines. One night we switched the E and the I on the sign to make Caroline Penis. Stayed like that for 4 days. My buddy used to live in a neighborhood called Bantam Woods and we got hammered one night and changed it to Batman Woods. In junior year of high school, my class was given a 200 question test to do in an hour and a half. Some kid convinced everyone to white out the corner of the scantron so the prof had to mark every single answer by hand in a class of 30. He had to do it, and the average was 84. Something like this happened at my school and the teacher failed every test. In 4th grade I created a club called the Safety Patrol Busters. I'm not sure how common safety patrol kids are, or if it's still done, but they were kids who volunteered to make sure other kids weren't doing anything unsafe, like running. If they caught you running they'd yell at you to stop and go back and walk. During recess, me and the other boys in the club would seek out the safety patrol kids in their orange vests and run as fast as we could past them. When they yelled stop, we'd keep running. This would usually cause them to give chase. We had this secret hiding spot underneath the portable classroom, trailers, buildings where we'd hide out and watch them try to find us. They never caught the safety patrol busters, ever. Senior year of high school. Taught 3 kids how to use any phone on campus to page over the loudspeakers. That was a hilarious week. I work at Disney World, that's the one in Florida. I found a list of the phone numbers to all the rides at Disneyland, California. I used to dial the Dumbo ride in Florida and then before they answered, conference to the Dumbo ride in California. Both would answer, Dumbo, this is so and so, and I'd just sit on mute listening to them trying to figure out who the real so and so working at Dumbo was. No one ever said wait, are you in FL or CA? I just left her job with the mouse. This is awesome. My daughter has amazing hand-eye coordination and can throw with scary accuracy. We are a family that loses our crap when people in movie theaters talk, text, make noise, etc. Some dude a few rows ahead kept pulling out his phone to check FB during the movie. I dared my daughter to throw a milk dud at his phone, and she hit it each time he pulled it out. Finally, he stopped. Then he put his feet up on the seat ahead of him where another person was sitting. So she started pelting his foot. Eventually he sat like a perfect gentleman with nary a movement or phone check. This doesn't sound like watching the world burn, but rather keeping the world from burning. Good story though. I built a dummy when I was 10 or so. My friends and I would stand in the front yard with it, wait until a car came by, and then beat the crap out of it. We'd tear his head off or lynch him or throw him in the street. He was about our size, too, so people usually thought we were beating up another kid. They'd slam on the brakes and get out of the car to chew us out. One time we attached his hands to the second-story windowsill so it looked like he was hanging on for dear life, and some lady called 911. That was the end of that. In middle school, we would have a bathroom break right after lunch every day. When we went to do our business, a kid in my class started laughing maniacally while peeing in one of the urinals and proceeded to aim his pee into the corner of the bathroom. He kept laughing as his pee covered the floor, and for some freaking reason 3 other kids started to do the same thing. By the time they were finished there was a yellow pee pool covering about 1/3 of the floor space. That would have been bad enough, but then the 4 of them started to jump around and splash people. Frick kids. As a custodian, this hurts and is far too common. I worked as a camp counselor for a long time, and when I was supervising a big area alone I'd bring all my water guns. I hate participating in water fights, but I love watching them. My favorite thing to do is give a water gun to one kid and encourage them to be as obnoxious as possible, watching while everybody else in the area grows to slowly hate them. Then I'll start passing them out to other obnoxious kids and build my own little squad of terror. But the real fun comes when I engineer their demise by slowly arming a resistance against them. Brother begins turning on brother and I watch like Caligula atop my tall rock, dry and sipping bug juice. The goal is to have a full-on war break out by the time someone else is supposed to take over for me. In my 8th grade English class, we occasionally critiqued each other's assignments by leaving a comment on the back and then passing it to the person next to us, until everyone had reviewed each paper. One day I decided to write Brandon, I'm Brandon, on every single paper. Eventually, my teacher noticed and got really upset that someone wasn't taking the task seriously. She instantly accused my girlfriend, who happened to be in the class and was always doodling girly crap on her binder instead of paying attention. My girlfriend, full of adolescent emotions, erupted into tears while proclaiming her innocence. After a moment, my girlfriend's tears of embarrassment turned into tears of rage when she realized that if she hadn't written the message, another girl probably had. She got up out of her chair and started yelling and pointing at another girl, accusing her of trying to break us up. The other girl denied doing it and then started firing vulgar insults back at my girlfriend. At this point, everyone in the class is yelling and cheering on the verbal slugfest until, eventually, my teacher got everyone under control. Needless to say, I could have stopped the ordeal at any moment. I still smile just thinking about it. Such a gentleman. There are 2 break rooms on my floor at work, and each of them has a few cupboards full of dishes and coffee cups. Each break room pretty much the same distance from my cubicle. Each day, I make a cup of tea in one break room, and when done, put it in the other's dishwasher. I roped in a co-worker who sits next to me to do this as well. It was only a matter of a few weeks before people were bitching about how one break room had way too many coffee cups, and the other one always had none. Near the end of a school year, I found a stash of permanent markers in the staff room of the elementary school in which I taught. This school required all students to remove outdoor footwear and place them on shelves near the exits. On the last day of school, I put a gift marker in each shoe. After school, I relaxed on the playground and watched. At any instant, I could see all stages of the prank play out. The surprise discovery, the opening and testing of the pen, the tentative line drawn on the stair rail, and the expanding cloud of graffiti spreading out from each doorway. Indescribably evil. I have 2 really shirty roommates. Won't clean, use my crap all the time, play music and video games really loud until 4 AM. Sometimes. Anyway, I like to frick with them a lot by doing little things to annoy them. For instance, one of them is really short and I'm 6 feet 4 inches, so sometimes I put crap that he uses a lot on really high shelves or places where he can't see them. One of them is constantly playing my Xbox on my TV even when I want to play. So one time before I went out of town for the weekend, I put clear tape over the CD drive so it couldn't open, and it actually really looked like the Xbox broke. So that was fun. When I came back it magically worked perfectly. Just little things to annoy them until I can get the frick out of there. Shirty as frick. Wearing all them shirts. I hold the doors open for people who are more than 7 feet away just to watch them do that stupid half jog. I really enjoy it when they thank me through gritted teeth and labored breath. I love when people do this. I intentionally walk slower, just to be that guy. I've had people give up and just let go of the door and walk away. One day, while living in a house with 4 other roommates, a hat blew into our yard and landed on the back step, which was the main entrance. It was upright on the bottom step like someone had placed it there. All of us thought it was weird and moved on with our lives. That same week I went to the thrift store and bought all of the weirdest cheap hats I could find. Each Tuesday I would place an increasingly weirder hat on the back porch on my way to class. Theory conspiracies ranged from our landlord as the Mad Hatter to homeless people, to one of our friends leaving the hats. I kept this up until we had a collection of 30 plus hats in our closet. They didn't believe that it was me when I told them. Singapore is a weird place. It is an especially weird place for an American teen. An even weirder time when our classmate was arrested at our school and was caned. Well, Singaporeans tend to be reserved, not outgoing. We Americans were generally more outgoing. and sometimes we used it to make Singaporeans uncomfortable. For example, the bus stop was about 1-2 miles from my house. On the way, we had to walk by a big house with a few guards. My friend was with me and told me the Prime Minister lived there again, a really small country. So, we walk up to the guards and started to shake their hand and just started talking to them. They were so flustered and confused because no one has ever done that. We weren't threatening anyone. It was just us two. We were really friendly. It was the middle of the day. We were just 16. And we posed no threat. It's a normal neighborhood after all, and we had backpacks on and school uniforms. After about 3 minutes, they were extremely nervous because they weren't trained for this. Seeing a trained guard meant to handle threats, not having any idea what to do with people being friendly to him, was unbelievably hilarious to us. We had our fun and left. I'm Singaporean. I can't believe you did that, but that's really cool. I invited both the conservatives and the liberal groups at my university to the same pub during the US presidential elections. Fisticuffs were had. The football players at my school use a massive sand pit to work out in, so I poured glitter all through it so now all the football players shine like gay vampires. That's fabulous. When I worked at the school cafeteria, I learned my fellow college students treated cafe workers like crap. So since it was my job to keep the salad bar stocked, I never ever put the low fat options out. It's like the dumbest act of passive aggression I ever did. But I really hoped some of those buttholes got fat. My friend has a wife that has a bit of a jealous streak. One day while I was hanging out at his place, we were arguing about something and he made a smart butt comment. So I turned to his wife and say, "Hey, did he ever tell you about Rebecca?" A guy was being a royal prick to me and everyone around him. Just a loud douchebag. It was at a local resale store and I was holding this old 90s VHS video recorder, and when he saw it he went ape crap over wanting it so bad. He even tried to take it out of my hands at one point, which almost got his butt kicked 6 ways to Sunday. Well, I didn't really even want it, but I paid $20 for it. This guy wanted it so badly he followed me outside and offered me something like $40 and that I would be stupid not to take it. I didn't say a goddamn word. I stared his butt down for around 5 seconds before walking up to the dumpster by the side of the building, and just with all my force and all my might I spiked that freaking VHS down into the empty metal dumpster. It hit with such force lots of little plastic and metal bits came flying up and that recorder was fricked. The look on his face made it so worth it. I started laughing hysterically all the way to my car, and as I was driving away he was still just open-mouthed staring at me. I lost my voice the next day from laughing for so long and so hard. In high school we went around late at night during an election and swapped people's lawn signs with one from another party. I'm a line cook at a restaurant, and just a few months after starting there we went through some major management changes. The proprietor had just quit and the head chef fired under questionable circumstances. A lot of the staff seemed pretty loyal to them and felt more like family. The days and weeks that followed were filled with hot tempers and a lot of women crying. One morning a new lady chef was making herself a cup of coffee and commented that it tasted funny, concluding she hadn't rinsed the pot out well enough. Nobody thinks anything of it and we continue about our day. I'm working the next morning, and one of the prep cooks notices that something he's cooking tasted funny, and I remember about the coffee from the morning before. After an investigation he concludes that someone had mixed powdered laundry soap in with a big bin of sugar. Thousands and thousands of dollars of food were thrown out that morning. Everything made in the past few days with sugar. Nobody knows if and how many customers were served tainted food, but authorities were notified, and ultimately no cases of illness came up. It's a pretty unanimous opinion that a prep cook who had quit a few days before was the culprit, but to my knowledge no charge have been filed. The best circumstances that come to mind was my freshman year in high school, 1998. I was reading my Star Wars novel at lunchtime, so naturally, I got picked on by some upperclassmen. Fast forward to after school. I always stayed after school because I had jazz band practice, and I volunteered to help round up the school's recycling. It was while I was doing my recycling rounds that I noticed some locker latches looked different. You see, with the lock design my school used, a student could penny the lock, meaning that a properly placed penny within the mechanism would allow the locker to shut without engaging to combination lock, making class transition easier since you didn't have to fumble with a dial. The trick was nearly universally used by juniors and seniors, but that evening I found out that the penny would not let the latch itself close and look distinct from a non-pennied lock. I removed 150 plus pennies that night. The next morning was glorious. Fast forward to the following year, still volunteering for the recycling help, a friend and I found the complete log of locker combinations for the entire student body. I had an after-school job then, so I didn't have time to pull an epic locker caper. However, I did exchange to contents of 2 lockers every night. I would leave a post-it with the location of the other locker containing their belongings, and vice versa. I stopped when it started a fight. From then on, my friend and I would only use the locker records for good. We would target the well-known outcasts in the new freshman classes and leave them friendly notes with tips for high school, and candy and stuff. We went big one time, and before Christmas break we left movie tickets and McDonald's gift certificates for a teen couple we knew to come from really poor families. That's awesome, man. Good for you for doing that to that couple, no sarcasm. 2 days ago, I was in a very long line at a pharmacy, immediately in back of a very obviously strung out couple who were in the process of counting all of their change right there on the counter in the hopes that they would have enough for a pack of cigarettes. The line was ridiculous, extending all the way to the back of the store, and everyone was furious. This lady only had nickels and dimes for some reason, and was counting each one really slowly. She lost count and asked the clerk how much she had, and he said, $6.50. The cigarettes were $11.75. We all thought it was over, but then the guy she was with reached into his pockets and, over the course of what must have been a full 5 to 10 minutes, slowly counted out all of his nickels and dimes. When he was done, he asked for the cigarettes, and the clerk said, "You're $1.35 short." The guy said, "No, it's all there," and the clerk said, "Nope. You're short $1.35. The dude angrily began to gather his change back, and the line behind us got so mad because what the frick all that for nothing, and B began to clap with a super intense hive schadenfreude, like in sync and en masse. I looked over the faces of the crowd and then said, "Hey man, do you need $1.35 in the schadenfreude?" Reddit. The whole line was so furious about my sponsorship of this obnoxious couple and just like helplessly watching me cannonball right into their puddle of collective vindication. Oh my god. So I gave the lady the $1.35 and the clapping stopped and there was just silence, like dead silence, while I went up to the counter and asked if it would be alright if I paid in change. And now everyone knows that when they pray it is me they are praying to. Great story. Amazing last line. I was a troublemaker in high school. I would steal all the doorstops, like, all of them, every day. It got to the point where the principal told teachers they need to stand out by the door in between classes and guard the doorstops. They even started numbering them. I still managed to steal them though. I must have stolen 50 plus doorstops in an operation that I called Operation Chaos. This operation also included me dumping 5,000 BBs in the hallways, dumping a gallon of mixed cheap cologne in a big hallway that forced them to actually shut it down. I would put Vaseline on doorknobs, throw glitter up in the air during class changes, and I bred 50 plus mice and planned to let them loose with the help of friends. My favorite though was carrying around a screwdriver and loosening screws. I wouldn't unscrew them all the way because I would get noticed. I would unscrew them a little bit every day, on anything I could. So then about a week or so later, it seemed as though all these chairs and desks were randomly falling apart. Before homecoming I printed out a whole bunch of flyers that I stuck on billboards all around the school. These flyers were banning the students from doing the dance the Wellington. There was no dance called the Wellington, but it sure got the school talking about this forbidden mystery dance. I was later expelled. I don't mean to be that kind of jerk, but when I was 17 I decided to go buy some groceries at a Giant or something. As I walked around I saw some very strict looking moms and I had the brilliant idea of putting some random unhealthy foods in their shopping carts. unnoticed and let the kids take the blame and see what the moms would do. These moms, I could hear them from 2 aisles away yelling at their children as they all denied putting the 6 packs of chocolate pudding or 2 packs of Mountain Dew or 4 boxes of Lucky Charms in the shopping cart. As a 15-year-old with an overprotective strict parent, screw you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.